And what I want to show is that that has now set our first SLA as being achieved. So the work starts SLA gets set when an individual technician is assigned to a ticket, and we can see that we achieved that, and it took us 17 minutes to actually get a technician assigned and work started on this incident. So let's show a couple other things here. As a technician, I'm going to put in that we know this is an email problem. We can see the customer comments down here. Cannot get emails to Steve, so I verified that I can. I am Steve. So this is going to be a note that's for myself, and then I'm going to ask the customer, are you using desktop, client, or webmail? Then what I'm going to want to do, since I'm going to send this question to the customer, and I don't really want the fact that the customer is taking a long time to respond to affect my SLAs and my reporting, I'm going to come to this waiting on box, say that I'm waiting on a customer response, do the same thing again where I come up here and hit save. And once this comes back up, we can see that the state of the incident is actually now waiting. The technician work note that I've entered has been added right here beneath that box. And down here on my SLAs, it still says in progress. It should say waiting there. So we'll have to get that looked at. But once it's in a waiting state, the SLAs actually are paused and are not counting anymore against you. So we're going to kind of continue this idea that we're waiting, and ServiceNow has actually sent an email to the email address of this customer, and we'll say that this person has actually responded. Let's say that they called back into the help desk with their response, and they've said that it is let's say a web. They're using the web-based tool. So we'll say that we got that by phone, and come back up here. We'll say that we're no longer waiting on customer. Go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and say that we're now investigating the problem. We go and we look in the email server, and what it looks like is that the logs show the firewall between the email server and Steve is broken. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then I'm going to say, there's an underlying issue here, and that is that the firewall is causing a problem here. So what I'll do is, from my incident, I'll come up here again to that top bar and say create problem. Now, this is a shortcut to make it a little bit quicker to do that, but if I didn't want to do it that way, I could also just come here to the problem application and select create new. But you can see it's pulled in some of the information from the incident. I don't want this short description, actually. I want to say that firewall 123 is down, and I will go ahead and create that as a known error. So this is something that there's a problem that exists. We know what the problem is, but there hasn't yet been a resolution to that. Now, see, it brought me back to my original incident, and here in the problem ID field, it has filled in the number of that associated problem. Now, let's say while I'm doing this, call comes in to me, and someone has a new incident. So I'm going to come in here, select create new from the incident menu, and we're going to say that who's calling us is Barry Sanders, who is the project manager. And let's say that his issue is that no one has received their electronic pay stubs. So as a technician, I'm going to look at this and say, okay, well, I know there's a known error that is affecting this firewall that has already impacted one thing with email. So when I come in here under problems, I see this known error that we just created. So I can go in there and verify what that is. Knowing that, what I'm going to do is come back into the incident that I've just created. And once that loads up, I'm going to associate that incident with the problem that we just created, so that known error. And I know that that's the number. So I will go ahead and save that. And now what this allows us to do is manage both of these incidents through a single problem. So if I come back now to my problem, and what I say is, okay, let's say that we put in a new, installed a new firewall. Oops, wrong box there. Installed a new firewall and loaded configuration. In some cases, there may be a workaround. So you're working on a problem. It's a known error, but there's some workaround. So a good example, right? If we take that printer example originally, is to say, well, you may not be able to print to that printer. A workaround is print to a printer on another floor. But that doesn't resolve the underlying issue. In this case, we're going to go ahead and resolve the underlying issue and say that a piece of networking equipment was replaced. This is actually the resolution that's going to get sent to the customers of the incidents that are associated with this problem. And I can see those by scrolling down here. And here are the two incidents that this problem is the underlying cause of. So I've put in the information that I want to store here, that I want to send out, and then in the resolution, I'm going to say we're closing it with a resolution. There's another alternative, which is if you have a problem and you have a workaround, you may just close it with the workaround and say that that's acceptable. And that's, exactly how that goes is detailed in the problem process flows and the guide for that. So let me go ahead and update this problem. And what you'll see is a message up here telling me that 2 incidents have been resolved and there's actually no more open problems for me. So if I